Court proceedings began as bond is set for the man accused in a Madison homicide last fall.
Wisconsin is seeing an increase in early voting numbers. We'll break down the figures ahead of next week's election.
And how you can help with the fight against hunger in our area through a partnership with a restaurant group and Second Harvest Food Bank. You're watching News 3 Now at 5. It is a warm and sunny start to the weekend, but rain is still in our forecast.
Blaze Keller is out on the weather patio. Outside is where you want to be this afternoon. It feels like summer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got into the upper 70s earlier this month, back on, I believe, the 13th or the 14th. And since then, we've been pretty seasonal, but now we're getting another taste of summer. It's 78, I believe, in Madison, if I'm reading that correctly. So we have surpassed our warmest high temperature for today's date, which was 76 degrees. 80s out along the Mississippi River, stretching from Lone Rock all the way into Prairie du Chien and beyond into Iowa. 77 in Janesville. We are also in the 80s in Sauk City, as well as Cross Plains, Middleton, Verona. It's a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. A little bit breezy behind this warm front, but that warm front moved its way northwards overnight, brought us some showers and thunderstorms, and also brought us that warmth for this afternoon. Make some plans to get out there this evening. We're going to be sitting in the 70s pretty much through about 8, 9 o'clock tonight, with clouds steadily increasing. Showers and thunderstorms possible after midnight, especially for folks further north and west. We'll track out that overnight, but we're also tracking out the rain and the snow and even some ice for parts of Wisconsin. That's coming up in the full forecast.
All right, Blaze, thank you. Wisconsin Supreme Court candidate Susan Crawford will recuse herself from a case dealing with her own election. Attorney General Josh Kaul is suing Elon Musk to try to prevent him from offering Wisconsinites money attached to the state Supreme Court race. The suit was filed in Dane County, where Crawford is an active judge and randomly assigned to her. It now has been moved to Columbia County under Judge W. Andrew Voigt. This legal challenge comes ahead of a visit by Musk to Wisconsin on Sunday, where he says he will give a $1 million check to 2 Wisconsin voters who signed his petition against activist judges.
Bond is set at $1 million for the man charged in the murder of 24-year-old Brooke Stratton. James Barnes Morris had an initial appearance in court this afternoon. He's charged with first-degree intentional homicide with a domestic abuse enhancer in connection to Stratton's death. Madison police found her body in a pond on the UW-Madison Arboretum property days after she was reported missing in September. Barnes Morris pled not guilty in court. Now, this is the helpline for Dane County Domestic Abuse Intervention Services. You can call them even if you are not in Dane County, and they will direct you to resources in your area. You can also text them if you don't feel safe making that call.
A lightning strike breaks a gas line in an Oregon neighborhood. This morning, Oregon Fire and EMS were called to Clittle and Ames streets after reports of a heavy odor of natural gas. Gas monitoring devices detected readings within the explosive range. Oregon Fire says a storm system moving through the area produced a lightning strike that ruptured the gas line. Gas to the area was shut off while repairs were made, and residents have since been allowed back into their homes.
On the campaign trail, the candidates on the April 1st ballot are heading now in the final stretch of the campaign.
Political reporter Will Keneally is here with more on the final days of the race. Will?
Well, the big question on all of our minds is what is happening on Tuesday. Now, I wish I had a firm answer for you, but we can take a look at early voting numbers. Places like Dane and Milwaukee counties popped, which could help liberals, but some suburban Milwaukee counties, which could help conservatives, popped as well. Now, we asked a data expert on where he is looking on election night.
There are around a dozen counties in Wisconsin that Dan Kelly lost 2 years ago that a conservative candidate simply has to win. And the 3 big ones are Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago. We call those the bow counties. Those are Wisconsin. They're not just swing counties, but they're big counties, lots of votes.
Now, this is part of a larger discussion that we have on the state of the race, including how some of the down ballot races might fare it out. Now, you can see more from our conversation this Sunday at 10:30 on For the Record.
We will see you Sunday, Will. Thank you. Governor Tony Evers vetoed a Republican-authored bill that would have revived old test score standards. State School Superintendent Jill Underly changed the standardized testing benchmarks for school district performance report cards last year. Republicans argue the changes watered down standards to artificially inflate grades, making it harder to compare Wisconsin students to their peers around the rest of the country. The governor said while he has been critical of the process, he objects to legislators trying to undermine the state superintendent's authority and independence.
The U.S. economy remained relatively solid in February, according to the latest information from the Commerce Department. Consumer spending rose by 0.4% in February. The data also shows the personal consumption expenditures price index increased 2.5% last month over a year ago. However, some economists are warning things could change in the near future. They say the Trump administration's new tariffs on auto imports and other levies could result in higher prices overall. And according to a new University of Michigan survey, Americans are more worried about rising unemployment than they've been in the past 15 years. The report found consumer sentiment tanked 12% this month. Respondents blamed President Trump's erratic trade war for their concerns. The survey's director said 2/3 of consumers expect unemployment to rise in the year ahead. That's the highest reading since 2009.
Mass layoffs are coming to the Department of Veterans Affairs. VA Secretary Doug Collins says the department is aiming to cut its staff by some 80,000, about 17% of its workforce. According to an internal memo, reorganization plans will be submitted by April 13th. Now employees are worried about the impact these cuts could have on veterans' mental health.
This is going to affect all patient care as a whole. I mean, from the call centers, from eligibility to benefits, to the crisis line, to member services lines.
I think it's going to be hard to make sure that no calls go unanswered.
The cuts are set to be officially implemented in June.
There are hundreds of thousands of people across Wisconsin who don't know where their next meal will come from. That is the reality of food insecurity.
Our Ellie La Liberté shows us how Madison area restaurants are stepping in to help for this year's Food Fight Against Hunger campaign.
It may seem like just $1 at a time, but this $1 serves a bigger purpose.
From the bar to the back. Tynan McCaffrey, the Cooper's Tavern executive chef, is cooking up something special.
The one that we were showing today was our Mediterranean stuffed chicken breast.
That chicken is a part of a special menu.
We are just trying to help those in need in our community who are facing hunger.
The Food Fight Restaurant Group, about 15 restaurants in the Madison area, is partnering with Second Harvest Food Bank of Southern Wisconsin.
Every dollar makes a difference here in the community.
In April, $1 from every item ordered off those special menus at those restaurants goes to fighting hunger.
It may just feel like a dollar to you, but it is still helping your neighbor who is struggling.
This year, the goal is $15,000, which Chris Tazalar with the food bank says would go a long way.
For every $10 that we bring into Second Harvest, we can actually provide $24 worth of groceries to families right here in southwestern Wisconsin. And the reality is nowadays, especially since the pandemic, there's more need out in the community than ever before.
Community supporting community.
We usually see a pretty decent turnout for it.
Through Food Fight for a cause.
I think people are excited to help out, like if they can enjoy food and then also be helping the community while they're doing it.
For more information on all the menus and participating restaurants, just visit secondharvestsw.org/foodfight. Reporting in Madison, Ellie La Liberté, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Ellie. Guests will also be able to add a donation to their bill or ask to add a donation for phone and carry-out orders.
A local nonprofit launches a new program to help people facing barriers to unemployment. This week, the Goodwill of South Central Wisconsin began its Launchpad program. The initiative gives participants facing barriers to employment 6 months of paid hands-on work experience, as well as tailored job readiness training. The program's ultimate goal is to help people transition these opportunities into long-term sustainable careers.
Well, I think everybody comes in with a different set of needs, and so we'll take time to get to know each person and develop a specific plan with their needs. So some people just need some basic skills. Maybe it's customer service, maybe it's basic, production type skills. It'll be different for everybody. And so we're just starting with where people are to help them grow and learn.
The program is open to those 18 or older who are chronically unemployed, formerly incarcerated, refugees, disabled, or are facing other significant employment barriers.
Still to come tonight at 5, changing what people can eat while on federal food assistance.
And Vice President J.D. Vance visits Greenland. This as President Trump works to cut a trade deal with Canada. And the sell-off continues on Wall Street. The Dow with a dive of almost 716 points today. The Nasdaq tumbles 481. The S&P 500 loses 112 points. And we'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
President Trump is focused on America's northern allies, dispatching key administration officials to Greenland.
He's also talking with Canada's new Prime Minister about tariffs. Erica Brown has the details now from the White House.
Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance arrived to sub-zero temperatures in Greenland Friday as they toured a U.S. Space Force base.
It's cold as here. Nobody told me.
The vice president's visit comes as President Trump pushes for a U.S. takeover of the semi-autonomous Danish territory. Greenland and Danish leaders have called the visit a provocation.
Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. That has to change. And because it hasn't changed, this is why President Trump's policy in Greenland is what it is.
President Trump wants greater access to Greenland's abundant mineral, oil, and natural gas wealth. And in the Oval Office Friday, he said the island is essential to U.S. national security.
We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't.
President Trump has also pushed for Canada to join the U.S. as the 51st state. Friday, he spoke with Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, for the first time. Trump says he believes the U.S. and Canada can strike a fair trade deal, though Carney said Canada will implement retaliatory tariffs.
We had a very good talk, the Prime Minister and myself, and I think things are going to work out very well between Canada and the United States.
The president also announced he wants Congress to pass a law allowing Americans to write off the interest on new car purchases if the vehicles are built in America. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
And Vice President Vance told U.S. forces in Greenland that he did not foresee the need for military force. He said they will cut a deal, quote, President Trump style.
Chinese antitrust regulators have put the sale of 2 Panama Canal ports on hold. They're investigating a U.S. consortium's deal for the ports in the Panama Canal zone. The investigation delays the deal's closing, originally set for next week. The deal led by BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, was announced earlier this month. It was widely viewed as a way to ease tensions in the region.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced states can now stop people from using federal food assistance to buy soft drinks. He made the announcement during an appearance in West Virginia with the state's Republican governor, who recently signed legislation banning foods containing 7 artificial food dyes and 2 preservatives. West Virginia is the first state to do so. Kennedy has been outspoken about the health dangers of dyes in processed foods.
We have a public health crisis in this country. And unfortunately, West Virginia is leading the way. It's the highest obesity rate of any state in our country. This year, you pulled ahead of Mississippi.
Kennedy is leading a major overhaul of U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, calling the department inefficient. He announced he'll be laying off 10,000 workers and shutting down entire agencies. Well, we had some storms this morning across southern Wisconsin, but can we expect more storms later today?
We are looking at the chance for some storms later this evening as a cold front moves out of northern Wisconsin, where there are some showers and thunderstorms right now. But we're also watching the chance for some rain, mainly this weekend, but that will turn over to a rain-snow mix and then eventually just snow as that system exits later Monday. It's 84 in La Crosse, 78 in Madison, that warm front just off to our north, essentially where the green meets the yellow, 54 in Eau Claire, 35 in Rhinelander, 32 in Superior. They're going to be dealing with a lot of snow and ice as we go into the weekend as 2 systems move on through. The first one is moving on through right now, and that cold front, we're going to watch to see where it eventually sets up for your Saturday, because if you're north of the cold front, you're going to be cooler, but if you're south of the cold front, you're going to be warmer. So we're really going to be watching to see what side of kind of our forecast area is on the north or the south. And this cold front is going to help guide in that next round of rain as we go into your Saturday, mainly Saturday night into Sunday. Most of that moisture is going to fall as a rain-snow mix or snow further to the north. Depending on where that cold front settles, we may see some of that mix into northern parts of our forecast area. But the best chance for more widespread mix is going to be starting no earlier than Sunday night into Monday. That's when winds turn out of the north. Cooler air that's been sitting off to our north eventually moves overhead and starts to cool us down. And you can see that here with our temperatures. So we'll go from the 70s to the 60s very early on your Saturday. And then throughout the day, we're going to cool on down. That next system moves on in, maybe bumps up our temperatures a little bit, but southerly winds providing a lot of moisture for snow across northern Wisconsin, rain here across central and southern Wisconsin, and then our temperatures will continue to dip as we go into your Sunday night further into Monday when we finally see that changeover from rain to that rain-snow mix and then eventually snow. Where is the worst of the worst winter storm expected? Up near Rhinelander, where they have not only moderate but also major there. Just over the Rhinelander area. We're not expecting much in the way of snow across southern Wisconsin, but they're going to be dealing with ice as well. Ice storm warning for anybody here in this purple. In the blue, winter storm watch, winter storm warning there, right? In the UP, and then more winter weather advisories off to the west. Snow could be a couple of inches to say the least across northern Wisconsin, but the ice, that could be very significant because it doesn't take a lot of ice to cause a lot of damage. Once you get above a quarter of an inch of ice, you're really putting a lot of weight onto power lines or tree branches. So when you're looking at a half an inch of ice, if not more, you could be dealing with some significant problems across northern Wisconsin. Now, of course, Monday here back in Milwaukee is the Brewers' home opener. And even though the roof is going to keep us on the quiet side in terms of weather getting there, you may be dealing with some snow, flurries, but they'll be tapering off as we go throughout the rest of your late morning on Monday into the early afternoon when we eventually settle into those low 40s. 50s over the weekend, and we'll be back in the 50s as we kick off those first few days of April.
All right, Blaze, thank you. Next at 5, getting more rest. We'll see if sleep trackers are actually helpful. That's next.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Welcome back. It's National Sleep Month, and many people aren't getting enough rest. More than a third of Americans have turned to apps or devices to track the quality of their sleep.
But do those sleep trackers really work to help you get better sleep? Susan Elizabeth Littlefield takes a look.
Track of your sleep? I do keep track of my sleep cycles. You want to get that full sleep cycle. It's very important.
How important is sleep to you?
Where I come from, 8 is great. So if I can get 8, I'm in line.
And he's got proof.
The app that I use is called Sleep Tracker. Today, I got 9 hours and 30 minutes worth of sleep.
Whether it's the Apple Watch, the Fitbit, the Oura Ring, or apps, 35% of Americans are tracking sleep. That's according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. Dr. Seema Khosla says even she doesn't know exactly how the apps track sleep, as it's proprietary information. But they're getting more specialized, like Apple's new sleep apnea sensor.
Are these sleep trackers accurate?
So it's a very, very competitive industry, right? So is Apple the same as Fitbit, the same as Garmin? No.
Still, Dr. Khosla says she consistently sees correlations in the device data and her sleep lab data. As for the device users, a survey shows 77% of them say sleep trackers are helpful.
Do you think these devices lead to better sleep?
I think a lot of it depends on why you used it. So if you used it because you're worried about snoring, and then you do a test and you find out you have sleep apnea, and then you get on treatment, then yeah, I think that improves your sleep.
For anyone out there thinking, should I get a sleep tracker? Does it matter?
I think if you're worried about your sleep, like for example, if you're snoring and your sleep is not restorative, don't wait for the tracker, go get that evaluated. We always want to bring it back to what you are experiencing.
So whether they flag a problem or keep you accountable, she says devices can bring a sense of peace. Susan Elizabeth Littlefield, CBS News.
And we'll be right back with a final check of your first warn forecast. Well, coming up next on an early edition of News 3 Now at 6, the village of Cottage Grove may soon be home to a new library. Why the April referendum has residents there divided. Again, that's next on News 3 Now at 6. Early today again due to the NCAA tournament. And we've magically, brought Sarah in place of Susan in preparation for this early newscast. And Blaze has a quick final check.
Yes, it's going to be a rainy Saturday, so get out and enjoy the 70s and 80s while they're here.
All right, stand by for News 3 Now at 6.